Okay, we're up and running. Right. I've just posted something up on the HardOps Facebook page, which was basically this, which is a model of something Jerry Perkins did in one of the micro update videos for HardOps. That's the rendered version. And about the only difference I really did from sort of watching what he was up to was added some plating, a couple of changes to materials which are, pardon the pun, immaterial. Just put plating on the pipe on inside and just plating on this top bit here. Which you can see here, that's that. Hide the pipe, and then there's that as well. And the plating obviously is born of the same objects, so those faces and the faces of that. So I shall hide them and show these. And these are just sort of stand-ins for where the main gubbins were. Just as you can see, it's just a circle. And that's just to help me know where my plating's going to have to end. There's no point in the plating going over them. It's nicer if you can have it at least to a degree following it round there, rather than just cutting across, because it gives the suggestion then that it was done deliberately for this unit. Right. So first things first is I'm just going to go into this and I'm just going to turn these off. And we go into here. And now, why are these screencast keys not working? Interesting. There we go. Turn them off, turn them back on again. Sound familiar to anyone in the industry? Right. I'm only interested in the outer ones, so I'm going to select those. I'm going to delete the vertices. Just leave me with them. And to get a cleaner circle, what I'm going to do is switch to edge mode and just Alt Shift click these and subdivide. Likewise subdivide, and then I'm going to take the Loop Tools circle key. I've got it assigned to a shortcut, and just click that, and that's it, just to tidy it up a bit. So I'm just going to use Control W for the rest of these. Now, something I stumbled on before. Sometimes that can happen, and that only happens if you've accidentally got the radius selected. So you just deselect the radius and it'll stick with what it's doing, which is all fine and dandy. Oh, okay, so that's that. So that's going to be my sort of main part, as it were. Right. And so now you just start thinking about switching to polygon mode, and you just start thinking about which C to go into circle select. Which of these I want to be a unit, and then what I want to do is basically inset these a little and then just cut them out. And I'm just cutting them out so it makes it easier as I'm working along. Excuse me. Now, as I mentioned in my post, being an ex-software developer, we are by nature, given the chance, lazy. And why do something repetitively over and over? And you can do it this way. I can do that. I could insert. I could then separate by selection, select something else, then pull up the edit history, select inset faces, so it's all the same inset and that, but that's just too much effort. So what I ended up doing was I pulled up the info panel. Come here. Oi. Info. Right. So if I do an insert now, like that, say, so there's my insert. That's my insert value right there. And then I could say, in fact, let's change that to 0.00175. There we are. We can just copy that, say. So that's my inset. Inset thickness 0.01750. Then I can P separate by selection. Now that doesn't show up in the info window, and so I just jumped onto Google, Blender, Python, separate selected, and one of the first things that popped up was this. It's BPY ops mesh.separate type equals selected. So I simply opened up the text editor, which is Shift F11 rather, did an import BPY, did that, so we changed that to 175 because that's what we used last time, and then BPY selected. So that's my script, that is it. And then what do? I just go here, I can select, say, these three, go over here, Alt-P to run the script. Make sure you deselect if you're using circle, Alt-P. Alt-P. You see how much quicker this is? And so on and so forth, basically. So you go along building your... I mean, you can build multiple ones if you want, because they're all going to be joined together in the end. But I tend to do them in small sections simply because I know what I'm dealing with then. And it also, I can think more about what I want in terms of the flow of the geometry. So I'm going to do some of them. So I won't carry on with that, but you get the idea. And you just do the same on the bottom. Slowly build it out. And then all I'd do is I'd actually, if I hide everything else, you know, this is what we've got. Oh, go on, let's do that one. Why not? One last thing. So just select that and just delete it, unhide everything. And so we say that. Just activate them all. Now the only thing you've got to be wary of here is that they now all sit like that. For this particular instance, I'll just hide that. I found, I think it was 2.88 worked for the array. Instead of a relative offset, I used a constant. And I was it 0.32? Something like that, 0.328. The easiest way to detect is just go to up here and just 0.322. That looks nice. So let's hide that again. So I'm gonna select all the pipe ones. So select that. So in fact, let's select all the pipes. And then I shall deselect that, or select it last and do a Control J. There we go. And then we put that back on. And hide that. Hide that. And so you can see where we're coming from here. And there's my thing. So all I do now, add myself a solidify, knock that under the bevel. 1, 0.005 maybe. In fact, even less. 0.004, and that's just the bevel messing that up. So we change the bevel. I'll put hardened normals on for it, and we'll set it to, I don't know, 1mm. And what I'm going to do is I'll just put on the wireframe overlay. That allows me to get a better understanding of exactly what size bevel I can get away with. We say 2.4mm. Oh, too much. 1.8mm. It's pushing it. 1.3mm. 1.4mm. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, let's turn the wireframe back on. Right, so they are. So that's how you build that geometry. And then if you want, you know, you can assign yourself a material, and if you really want to, you can go in. Let's activate the solidify so we can see what we're selecting, and we can select some random objects and just add another material to it. And do the same again. So you've got multiple materials then, and if we do that, you can see we're getting your materials for that one, which is super duper. Okay, we hide that again. Right. Okie doke. So now we've got this we want to deal with. And before we can do that, let's get rid of the them, and I'm actually going to apply that because we want sort of mirrored geometry, right? And then we're just going to select that, Control I, and delete faces, because that's all we're interested in. And hide the pipe, and then we just cut it basically. So I do a KZC to cut all the way through. Bump. And do it from the top. KZC, and we can just pick our points. And if you just press E and do that, click E, 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 and so on and so forth. Oh, of course it hasn't got. Yes, there we go. Yeah, of course it's not showing up with the E because I was actually in a tool. I should have realised that. ZC. And I'm using C so I get nice straight cuts. Oh, I'm an idiot. But you get the idea. I've done it again. Right. Let's do this right this time, shall we? Return, you idiot. There you go. Do the same. I'm just going to, because I obviously can't be trusted to actually press return after pressing the Z. So anyway, you get the idea. Doing that. And the only thing I'd probably do here is then start thinking about cutting around them. So I just use K and just cut, and use C, so I'm using angles. Turn C off to snap to the point. And then I'll just basically, I'm just going to draw around here, turn C off again. And then KZC, and make some points here. So you basically get the gist of it. You're just looking to create faces, and then just do the same again. So I select that, Alt P, select that, Alt P, so again exactly the same sort of process as before. You're not doing anything different. It's just these, using that makes it a lot easier. You're always going to get the same gap between all of your panels, and so on and so forth. So we could delete that, select one, select all the bases, shift click one until it's yellow rather than join it. Then again, add yourself a solidify, set it to 1, and 3mm thickness. Is that right? Yep. And then add yourself a bevel. Harden the normals, 3 and 1.2mm. And maybe take that up to 4.5mm. And let's see how that looks. I'll just highlight the main plating so you can see what we're playing with. Take off those. That's fine. Make sure I've got that selected, and I'm going to actually give it a mirror modifier as well. Mirror. There we go. And I'll put that before the bevel. And in fact, could even be before the solidify as well. So there you've got your thing, and again if I bump, and let's change that material. There you go. So that's it. It's just to show that sometimes it's worth using a bit of script when you want to get consistent results doing something like that, and it does speed it up, simply because, again, like I say, you can go in, select something, switch Alt P to run the script, Alt P, back, change it, Alt P, back, change it, Alt P, which is a lot easier than going in, selecting something, then going up to your edit, repeat history, selecting the action from the repeat history and clicking on it just speeds things up. So there you go. A relatively quick way of doing plating. It's a tedious thing if you want to get some sort of structure to it anyway. I've found with random it doesn't really work. It just looks higgledy-piggledy, where you can control your own form much more if you do something like that. So if you look at that, if I put it in rendered view, and let's bump up the exposure. There we go. And again, so you can see you get a much more sort of customized view doing it that way. So that was it really. Don't be afraid of mucking about with script, providing you've saved your object, and you know, it never hurts to save an increment of it before you try out like that. But say this will tell you what you're doing, so you can go in, and if you do something, you can see everything that's taken place there. So if I do 2, you know, you can see exactly what's going on. If I bevel it, control bevel, and it tells you what's going on. So it's kind of nice. Yeah. And again, you see everything taking place over here. I do an inset. There's my inset. And if I do it like that, then you can see it affects the depth as well. So, you know, there's multiple times where 1 or 2 little lines of code and you want to duplicate it across your mesh, but in a random or semi-random order. Sometimes script can be your friend.